right, here we go. Another episode of Canada on the Rocks. I am your host, local realtor here in Ottawa, Fady Khudair, with Sun Group Ottawa. And today we are joined by Jessica Spence from Jessica Spence Coaching
Yes.
and
Motivational speaking.
which is something that we've never had on the show. And I just wanted to kind of, first off, thank you so much, Jessica, for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know we kind of went back and forth trying to figure out the perfect time that works for everybody.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about Jessica Spence and what do you guys do exactly with your motivational speaker? We all know what motivational speaking is all about, but we want to know from you. What do you do? What's your job like?
Oh my gosh, Fady. So it is so multidimensional and complex, I find. I do so many different things right now. I'm currently working for a speakers bureau in Canada. It's Speakers Bureau of Canada. And we kind of just focus on helping clients inspire and their audience to take action. So basically, I just get hired based on that audience's needs. I'm also currently writing a book called Living Unbreakable, and I do a lot of marketing on social media as well.
It's fantastic. So we pretty much have, I'm not making any advertising here.
No.
We pretty much have like a Mel Robbins in the house here.
Oh my God, I love you.
Perfect. So how did you...
They like them theory. Okay, so how did I get into it? So my story is very, very interesting, Fady.
I'd love to hear it. That's why we're here.
Because this woman that you see here today is not who you would have seen 7 years ago. I'm actually going to show you a photo of myself later because it's quite shocking.
Okay.
7 years ago, 6.5 years ago, I was 60 pounds overweight, 4 months postpartum, sitting in my nursery glider, just like breastfeeding my baby. Do you have children, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you totally understand like the fatigue that comes with new motherhood, right? So I'm breastfeeding my baby and I'm unable to leave my house. I'm having panic and anxiety attacks every single day. I'm in a super toxic marriage that's very controlled. And I'm sitting there and tears are just like streaming down my face. And I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to make it just another day. And I'm just sitting there begging the universe for a sign that I'm meant to be here. And I remember all of a sudden I heard a knock on the nursery room door. It was my little 3-year-old Isabella. And she didn't want to wake the baby. So she whispered, "Mama, I need you." And I'm sitting there crying, breastfeeding my baby. And I'm like, light bulb moment. She needs me. They need me. I need me. That ended up igniting like this inner fire in me that I never anticipated. I ended up, as I told you, I love health and fitness. And I always have since I was younger. But this ended up igniting a fire in me. I lost the 60 pounds that I'd gained through pregnancy. I went to therapy for my anxiety and panic disorder. I started taking anxiety medication. I kind of just gave into my whole stigma and fear around anxiety medication at the time. I joined a health and fitness company out of the US that I was already telling you about, and I started working for them. And I left my marriage with my children and our basic belongings. And I started going all in on working for this company that eventually allowed me to cut down my hours as a dental hygienist and go all in on my biggest passion, which turned out to be inspiring and motivating audience and trying to make a greater impact.
I mean, it sounds really, really inspiring. I mean, when you look at it, it's, there's always this moment in our life that we live that it's called like, I like to think of it as like the what the F moment.
Right? Mine was light bulb moment, but I love what the F moment.
Because basically you're like, what the F am I doing this for?
Yep.
Why am I doing this when I can do so many other things that are much better for me, for my situation?
Yeah.
Why did I let myself get this far?
How did I get this far?
And then we can do one of two things. We can dwell on it and like just, feel sorry for ourselves and like go down the rabbit hole, or we can do something about it.
Yeah, we can make a decision, a choice. And that's exactly what I decided to do. And I think it was definitely motherhood that brought out that inner power in me, that definitely ignited that fire and that spark. And, I'm so grateful for my children, even though they drive me absolutely nuts. But everything I do every day is for them, for sure.
One of the things that, I've noticed as well, too, about us people is like we all have baggage.
Oh, yeah.
One way or another, we are born and then baggage.
Oh, we're a wild ride.
Right? Exactly. And like but we have to choose kind of like which way do we want to deal with this?
Exactly.
There's always going to be 2 or 3 decisions to make.
And every single day, we're always making choices. Do I want to wake up at 5 a.m.? No. Do I want to journal that day? No. Do I want to take a cold shower? No. Do I want to work out that day? Absolutely not. Do I want to take my children to school on time? Probably not. Every single day is a moment and a decision and a choice. And it's always determining where we go and how far we go and how we lead.
So back to the journey. You started back 7 years ago when that light bulb sort of came in. And obviously, thanks for Isabella for
Yeah.
giving you the inspiration.
Yeah.
How did it go? Tell me about like the steps that you took to get there.
Okay, so literally that night, I put my children to bed and I messaged a girl on social media who was working for a health and fitness company. And I said, "What are you doing? I'm already into health and fitness. I know that I need to get my mental health in check. And I know this is the road that I need to take because I've been there before when I was 21. That's when I started to get into health and fitness was because I was having anxiety in the first place." And she said, "I'm working for this company out of the US. We sell health and fitness products. We work out, we travel, we speak at events." And she was doing everything that I wanted to do. She was everything I wanted to be at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if this girl can do it, I can definitely do it. You know, she was a dental hygienist as well. She was a busy mom, so I could relate to her in several different ways. So I reached out to this company. I started working for them and I went all in and I ended up being really fantastic at sales and marketing. And I fell in love with social media because of the impact the larger impact that you're able to have on such a big platform. And now I use social media every single day. And it's not, for myself, it's just to simply serve because that's what brings me joy.
I'm glad that you brought this up because, I mean, one of the things that we do on the podcast is talk to business owners about the struggles that they go through and all of that. And, tell me a little bit more about putting yourself out there, obviously, with social media.
So scary.
What was that like at the beginning? Why is it different now? How do you feel about it?
So when I first started, obviously I'm 60 pounds overweight and not able to leave my house. So you can imagine going on social media and starting to market health and fitness was not for the faint of heart. Obviously, there was a fear of judgment, what my family was going to think, fear of failure, fear of, am I doing this right? Am I good enough? All those, those self-doubt talk kind of clicks in. But I think it is in doing that creates that resilience and that strength in us, right? So I would do the thing that scared me that the company wanted me to do, and then I would become more confident. And then they would get me to do the next thing, and then I'd become more confident. And then I started to lose the weight. I started to, feel better about myself. People were noticing and people were starting to take me seriously and be like, okay, this girl's actually doing something here. She's taking life seriously. So can we. So it was really just doing everything that made me uncomfortable that brought me to where I am now.
Be uncomfortable. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable is always the biggest thing that a lot of business owners have a hard time just kind of coming to fruition to.
You're so right.
This is something new to me. I'm going to do this. It's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then they quit.
All the time. It happens all of the time. And that's what I dealt with for 6 years with working with the company, was helping so many people, strive and thrive in the business. And then, life happens, life be lifing. And they quit because it got hard. Whereas I'm like, if you just stick it out and you keep doing the hard things and you lead with passion and resilience and joy, then eventually things start to build and they start to come to fruition naturally. But it takes time and it takes patience and an understanding that it's not going to happen overnight.
And that's the thing. Like it boggles my mind because we come from one thing. All of us come from one thing. Like we're one in like how many billion of sperm.
That's it.
That made it to life.
Yes.
Don't you think that by itself is just a massive way to just say, like, I freaking made it.
Right.
And I'm going to keep making it.
Yeah.
Why am I taking a chance on just, taking the easy route out?
Yeah. I think people are so scared of what other people are going to think, right? I think that just paralyzes so many.
And I think one thing has to do with that. Like if we compare it to that aspect with, being the sperm, whatever, having to go through it.
Yeah.
At that point, you didn't have the thoughts. Like thoughts weren't there. If you stop thinking about it sometimes and just do it.
So true. Yeah, just do it. #
Just do it.
We take ourselves so seriously. Don't you find, Fady? I find we take ourselves so seriously. We're so worried about what other people think when people don't think about us at all. They don't care what we're doing, We put ourselves up here when really we're just like the rest of us. We're like a tiny speck in this massive population. And we're taking ourselves so seriously when it's not serious.
It's not serious at all.
Well,
it's not serious at all. And actually, like, the less serious you take it and the more fun you have doing it, regardless of how uncomfortable it's going to be, you just laugh at it after.
That's it.
It's going to actually end up being, like, people are going to be responding to it because I'll give you an example. When I first started in sales, making cold calls.
Oh, yeah?
I probably have done, like, by now, looking at backwards at it, I probably have done about maybe 120,000
cold calls.
But when I first started, it was just like oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. Like somebody's out there is going to shut the phone. They're going to call me names.
Yeah. They're going to think I'm bad at this.
The worst I've ever got was the 2-word F off. That was it. It was the worst I've ever got.
Right.
They don't see you.
They don't.
They don't know you.
Yeah.
You're going to just shrug it off and keep going.
And aren't those moments when someone tells you, you know, like those moments where you hear no or you get rejected, aren't they so defining? I find those are the moments that define me.
They are, because you could do one of two things after that. You could literally just look at the phone and go, I'm not touching that thing again.
Yeah,
Or you can go, that was funny. I
exactly.
deserved it.
Yeah.
Laugh at it and then get back on that phone and make more calls.
And keep making a difference,
Yeah,
right? Because whatever you're selling is usually is something that's going to make a difference in someone's life.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you have to believe in also the product that you bring it to.
Passionate.
And if you do believe in that product, sometimes those people, all they're gonna do by throwing the sort of the objections and whatever your way,
Yeah.
they're going to make you better. They're going to make that product shine. They're going to make that particular benefit that they're supposed to have
Yeah,
coming out of it.
exactly.
And now you're gonna be like, well, no, you need to wait and listen to this,
Yeah.
because this is gonna do this and this and this to your life. Oh yeah, that actually, you know what, that warrants me sitting on the phone with you for half an hour, understanding this a little bit more.
I love how you understand sales and marketing, because this is something that I'm also passionate about and still do on a day-to-day on social media. But I found when I was selling health and fitness, there were so many people that wanted it but weren't willing to put in the work to have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm coaching people one-on-one. I'm trying to get them healthy. I'm trying to help them, change their lives and really, be a better mom, a better dad, a better sister, a better brother. And I found that there were so many people who shut me down in the process of making those sales pitches or those posts on social media or getting into those conversations and sending out an offer. But at the end of the day, I was just looking for the people who were looking for me. Not everyone's going to want what you have.
100%.
And that's okay.
And you're never going to win them all. And if you think you're going to win them all, you're mistaken. Shut down your shop and go home. It's just not going to happen.
No, let that
You're only going to be selling to maybe 25, 30% of the people that you talk to.
Yeah.
That's always been the case. And if you're really, really good, maybe 40%.
And it's a numbers game. Like, if it's 2 people and 40% of those 2 people, but when you start reaching out to more and more and growing your audience, then those sales become naturally higher, because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game.
So 7 years. Now we're here.
Yeah.
What are some of the defining moments that you felt like these are what's going to make me or break me?
Defining moments that were going to make me: the moment in the nursery, the first time I spoke on stage, 100%. It's funny because...
Tell me more. I've been there.
It's terrifying, right?
There.
But such a high. This is why I'm here. I'm like addicted to it. We're addicted to the high, us salespeople. But I found since I was young. So when I was in high school, I was always the girl who I was up when someone didn't want to do, a presentation, I would take it for them and I would do it for them. And I would be ridiculous. I would make silly voices. I would pretend I was Mexican at one point. Like, I was just being ridiculous. And I just loved being in front of an audience and having fun and making people laugh. And I'd lost that for so many years. So I found when I started being able to do that again on stage, it really brought back the person who I always was, who I had lost such a long time ago, right? So when I was able to get on stage and I had this vision for myself for so many years.
That main character energy, love it.
Yeah, that main character energy, I love that. Yeah, so when I actually got into that main character energy and I was able to stand up on stage, I had all these fears. Obviously, the self-doubt kicks in, right? And you're like, can I do this? Am I capable? Am I good enough for these people? Do they want to hear what I have to say? But when I got on stage and everything just lifted and I felt a light and I felt, such a self-ownership, I was so fulfilled, Fady, in ways that I can't even describe. I got off that stage and I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I didn't care about sales anymore. I actually was talking to one of the women who I worked alongside in the business. And I was like, okay, I love what we're doing. I love this. But speaking, I love it. Like, this has my full heart. So I started to do that. I started to, host my own workshops, host my own live calls, obviously work alongside the company and speak at different events, create my own events. So I started trying to do anything I could to get in front of an audience, because that became my main purpose. That was my passion, was making a difference.
Yeah. And the whole thing about motivational speak, and tell me if I'm kind of going the wrong way with this, it's really about sharing a story.
It's about sharing a story.
And hopefully you can provoke some emotions in people to have their WTF moment.
Yeah. I feel like in order to speak with an audience, you have to relate, right? And that's with a story. You have to engage. You have to make people feel seen and heard again, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for. We want to feel seen and heard. And if we can make an audience feel seen and heard, then you have their attention. Then you have their trust. If you don't have their attention and their trust, they're not going to leave there wanting to take action, because everything you say is in and out. So it's establishing that trust, having fun with it, taking humor, because sometimes laughter is the best medicine, right? Mm-hmm. Laughter is that kind of that bridge that opens us up to transformation. Having fun with it, and then that's going to allow them to leave that talk inspired and ready to take action. But it's leading with the story always.
And stories sell.
Stories sell.
Right. At the end of the day, like, when you're dealing with somebody, sales is all about just being able to kind of formulate together a story, put it together where in a way that it just makes the audience listen and go,
yeah,
I have to act on this.
Yeah, I trust her. I trust him. Because if you don't trust someone, you're not willing to buy what they have. You're not listening to anything that they say.
And the only way for people to trust you is to just really put yourself out there and then say, like, I'm doing this for you for these reasons. And that's where you relate, is like, it's not just for me. I'm doing it for you. Here's why.
Yeah, I'm here to serve. This is what's worked for me. This is what's working for this person, this person, this person. This is how you can do it. 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm. So back to the defining moment.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I want to say and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but walking out, you're deciding to walk out on this marriage that you're in.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that. How was that? And if it's okay with you.
Oh my gosh, I'm an open book. Okay. So you can ask me anything, Fady. Yeah. So I decided, for years, obviously, I was with this person since I was 21. So obviously we're very impressionable at that age. And he was quite a bit older than me. At the time when I was young, I knew something was off. I definitely, I come from a strong family background. My mom is military. She's very strong-minded. She's her own person. My dad is like this hippie who smokes weed every day, and he has a strong personality too. So I knew coming into this relationship that something was off. I knew on my wedding day something was off. I knew every time I was, belittled or chastised or, called a name, that something was off.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do about it. Or I did know what to do about it. I wasn't willing to do anything about it at the time. So I went to Mexico with my mom, December 2019. She took my children and I to Mexico, and she said, do you want me to invite your husband? And I said, no. And that was the first time that I'd ever told anyone. So I'm in this relationship for 10 years. I'm barely going out with my friends. My friends are disowning me because I'm not telling anyone something's wrong. I'm just saying I can't go out and it's a me problem, right? No one knows that anything is going on behind the scenes. To the outside world, I look like I'm living this white picket fence life. I have a nice house, I have a nice car, I have 2 beautiful children, and I have a husband, right? When you're 26 years old, that is the definition of a white picket fence. So people think everything's totally fine, including my family. I go to Mexico with my mom. My children are still super little. Isabella's 3. My little one's like 6 months old or something. And I tell her, Mom, I'm leaving. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm leaving this, and this. And she was mind blown, like totally like flabbergasted by the whole situation. Why didn't you tell me? How could you let this happen? She was devastated. She was heartbroken for me that I had been keeping such a dark secret and putting on a smile for so long for everyone else, right? When I was hurting so much inside. So I got back from Mexico, and it was January 6th, I think. I said, I'm leaving. My mom owns rental properties in Ottawa. I'm going to stay at my mom's rental property. It's furnished. I'm not bringing anything with me. I'm taking the kids. He refused to move out of the house. So I knew I had no option. I had to leave anyways. I discussed it with my mom. I knew I had a safe place to go. And I had furniture for my children. So I leave my marital home. I bring my babies with me. COVID hits. I leave my marital home Feb 28th. COVID hits March 13th, I think. All of a sudden, my world comes crashing down even more than I could even picture, okay? I'm like debilitated with anxiety at this point. I'm losing my children to one. We were at that point doing 1 day on, 1 day off because I was still breastfeeding, and I wasn't willing to give up my kids at that point to any amount of time. So we were doing like 1 day on, 1 day off. My dental hygiene career that I was doing only 2 days a week at that time, all of a sudden everything shut down, and I'm working online and making, a safe amount of money, but not enough to really hold myself up when I'm paying a low amount of rent, but rent, groceries, bills, phone, cell phone, all that kind of stuff. So my mom, obviously, she's like, we'll do this and this and this. COVID hits. We start doing 1 day on, 1 day off. And we kind of just start going into fight or flight mode, survival mode, because at this point, I don't know what else I'm going to do besides survive. It didn't take long. I think it was about 8 months later where we got lawyers and we started to figure out like the house situation, who's buying who out, child custody, all that kind of stuff. And things started to come a little bit more rounded, and I was able to kind of cope a little bit more, go back to dental hygiene because it started opening up again during COVID. But it's funny, Fady, this also ignited a huge fire in me to start making more money at this point because I was lost, right? I had to all of a sudden take care of my children on a single income. So I went all in on my business with the health and fitness company out of the US. I went all in. I was working my ass off on the days that I didn't have the kids. I just really just kind of dug deep, and I worked my butt off to get
Yeah.
where I am today.
It sounds like what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but change really only happens when the fear of not doing anything, the fear of being inactive or not taking any action
Yeah.
is a lot stronger, a lot more fearful, a lot more like it's just going to be too much for you if you
Yeah.
don't do anything.
Right? You have to have that. You have to have your why is everything. If you don't have a strong why at the end of the day, nothing is moving. You're not moving the grid, because why would you? You have to have that powerful why. And I did. It was always survival at that point. Now my why is different. My life is quite comfortable at this point, but my why was getting out of a marriage, surviving that, and financially being able to support my family.
And that's, I mean, like there's something to be said about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like we want to take care of ourselves first in terms of, food and shelter and,
Yeah.
Everything else, like all the way to the bottom, the top, which
Yes.
is self-actualization. That's,
Yes.
Obviously all of this comes with just being able to do the bare minimum until you get to where you can go, okay, now I can breathe. I can focus on this and focus on that.
Yeah.
The why does change from now,
All the time.
every now and then, all the time.
Yeah.
But it only changes when you're getting the basic needs met.
Absolutely. You have to have a foundation, obviously, to start on before you can start. But you know what? I will say that because I was working alongside so many people who were already active, and I knew that the key to my mental health and survival was health and fitness and nutrition, I was always definitely on top of that. I think that's how I survived it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was doing a boxing class at the time. It was fantastic for divorce. Highly recommend it.
Put the picture on there.
Oh yeah, like just get it. But yeah, health and fitness definitely saved my ass for sure. I think it's imperative. It's key. It has been my way out in every aspect of my life. It has been my number one, and it's still something that I tell women and men every single day. That should be your foundation, is starting to build you, and building you is going to stem from your health and your wellness.
For sure. I think that the mind is an extremely powerful thing, but also in the same token, it's the most dangerous place to be.
The worst. That's why COVID was so difficult and challenging for so many.
And very defining for so many people in a good way or a bad way. It just depends on
how they took it, right? Yeah, I think isolation is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
Because that's where the mind takes over, and that's where we're forced with who we are.
Well, isolation is definitely it's one of the highest forms of torture.
For sure. I don't like being alone. I mean, I do. Give me every second weekend alone and I'll take that time.
Yeah. You have to be comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But even then, even if you're a lone wolf, you're not necessarily going to be alone all the time. You do need to have people in.
You do.
We're a very social creature.
We are.
Being able to relate to one another, talk to one another. I did this. Yeah. Okay. Well, you can change. Just having that discussion with one another, it's really what helps us as a creature survive.
Yeah. Knowing that we're not alone at the end of the day is what it comes down to. It gives us a safety.
So for people that are watching, how do we get them engaged with you in terms of speaking engagements?
Yeah, I think just reach out on social media and book me at your next event, whether it's, a high energy keynote, a game-changing workshop, or just a live with your team. I'm going to bring that fire, that motivation, and that inspiration to really inspire you to take action.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And again, for everybody that's watching, thank you so much for watching us. And, obviously we want to keep bringing businesses here on the podcast, let you know about everything that's in the city, all the beautiful businesses in Ottawa. And it's not boring. If you think it is, something is wrong with you, we got to check you out. Talk to me. I'll tell you how it's not boring. With that being said, thank you very much. And to hear more stories like this and to learn more about businesses in the city that are profitable, that are doing a great job, that really have a fantastic story, that have been through a lot of the WTF moments.
Yeah.
This is a channel for You Can Out on the Rocks. Hit us up, sign up, subscribe, and let us know. And in the comments, let us know about any business that you think of that could be using this as a good platform for themselves and really just kind of tell the story. Thanks again. My name is Fady Khudair. I'm your host, and have a great day.